Apple has become the first company in the world to reach a market value of $3 trillion. Now, the iPhone maker's worth jumping really during the pandemic as demand for its products increased. And our business editor, Stephen Carroll, is here to tell us more about it. Stephen, what exactly did Apple actually achieve with this how did it achieve this milestone?
Well, first of all, when we talk about market capitalisation or market value of a company, we're talking about the value of all of the company's shares put together. So when a company's share price goes up, its market capitalisation or its market value goes up as well. Apple's share price has been increasing pretty steadily for years now, but during the pandemic it really skyrocketed. This was down to more people buying Apple products, whether it was things like Macs or iPads to upgrade their home office, or buying more of the company's biggest seller, the iPhone. Apple has also built up a huge range of services customers. It has more than 740 million subscribers to its services, things like Apple TV. We know people are watching a lot more streaming services during the pandemic too. In the year to the end of September, Apple was earning more than $1 billion a day in revenue. Its share price rose by 45% in the past year alone. On Monday, those shares went over $182.88, almost $183. That pushed the company over that $3 trillion mark.
Yeah, they're scary figures, aren't they? How does Apple's growth then compare to other big companies?
Well, Apple was the first company to pass $1 trillion in valuation. That was in 2018. It was historic at the time as well. It took 42 years for the company to reach that milestone, but in less than 2 years, it went to $2 trillion in August of 2020, and then it was just 16 months to reach that $3 trillion mark. Since the onset of the pandemic, Apple's share price has seen much bigger gains than the broader stock market. You can see here the comparison with the S&P 500 index of shares in the United States. In 2 years, Apple stock is up 145%, the S&P up by just under 50%. In fact, Apple is one of the biggest gainers on the Dow Jones index since the start of 2021. Now, other technology companies over this period have seen gains as well for similar reasons, more people remote working, etc. They dominate now the list of the world's most valuable companies. By the end of trading on Monday, Apple shares had dipped ever so slightly, which meant that its closing market value was just under the $3 trillion mark. Microsoft is number 2 on the list, $2.5 trillion it's worth. Now, Microsoft actually briefly overtook Apple as the world's most valuable company in October of last year, but the iPhone maker regaining its crown after just a couple of weeks. Google's parent company, Alphabet, Amazon in the top 5 as well. So is the oil company, Saudi Aramco. Tesla is the 6th company in the world that has an over $1 trillion valuation. It's a very small and elite club.
Yes, even more incredible figures. What does this actually mean, though, for Apple, Stephen?
So look, it's a big landmark for the company, right? The company's now worth more than all of the world's cryptocurrencies, for example, and it's roughly equal to the size of the annual output of either the British or the Indian economies. Back in 2018, when Apple got past that $1 trillion landmark, CEO Tim Cook said that the stock price is a result and not an achievement by itself. And it's true that it's a reflection of how investors feel about the company. So it tells us they're feeling pretty optimistic about Apple at the moment. Despite that, though, the company is still facing some major challenges. It has supply chain shortages like so many companies. Apple had done quite well to avoid that up until quite recently, but it was forced to cut production targets for the iPhone 13, for example, because of a shortage of semiconductor microchips. Companies also facing increased scrutiny over its behaviour from regulators, over things like the App Store and how it treats developers of apps. There's also the big question of what will Apple do next? You have to innovate to continue this sort of level of growth. What will be the next big product that Apple will come up with? Or will it find itself increasingly facing rivals from other tech companies in areas where it traditionally had dominated?
Going to be tricky for Apple, isn't it? Apple summed up there for you by Stephen Carroll.